I never believed in second chances at love. Not after losing Amelia to cancer 3 years ago. But there I was, sitting across from Elena at a restaurant my mischievous 16-year-old triplets had tricked me into visiting, watching her laugh at something I'd said. The candlelight caught in her dark curls, and for the first time since Amelia died, I felt that forgotten flutter in my chest. If you've ever wondered if life can surprise you when you least expect it, stay with me. This is our story. If you're enjoying this journey so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us love finds us in the most unexpected places. Dad, you need to get out more, Hallie said, not looking up from her phone as she sprawled across our living room couch. At 16, she was the boldest of my triplets, always the first to speak her mind. I get out plenty, I replied, sorting through a stack of bills at the kitchen counter. I went to the hardware store yesterday. Mason, hunched over his homework at the dining table, snorted. The hardware store doesn't count as getting out, Dad. Yeah, Emma chimed in from the armchair where she was reading. The quietest of the three, she rarely joined their campaigns against me, which made her participation all the more concerning. It's been 3 years since Mom died. She wouldn't want you to be alone forever. I set down the electric bill and looked at my children, Amelia's children. They had her eyes, all 3 of them. Different in every other way, but those eyes were hers. I'm not alone. I have you 3 troublemakers. That's not the same, Hallie said, finally looking up. We're going to college in 2 years. The reminder hit like a physical blow. 2 years. Then what? An empty house with only Amelia's ghost for company? I'm fine, I insisted, turning back to the bills. But they weren't letting it go. For weeks, they dropped hints about their science teacher's recently divorced sister, about the nice cashier at the grocery store, about their friend's single mom. I deflected every suggestion until I thought they'd finally given up. I should have known better. Dad, we need you to pick up a special order at Bellini's tonight at 7, Mason told me one Friday afternoon in April. It's for our science project. What kind of science project requires Italian food? I asked suspiciously. It's about bacterial cultures in different food environments, Emma supplied quickly. Too quickly. And Mr. Ramirez said we could get extra credit if we include restaurant samples, Hallie added. I narrowed my eyes at them. And all 3 of you have other commitments tonight? Debate club emergency meeting, said Hallie. Basketball practice, said Mason. Library study group, said Emma. Their excuses were too perfect, too rehearsed, but I was too tired to argue. Fine. 7 o'clock. Their identical grins should have been my warning. Bellini's was packed when I arrived. The hostess checked her reservation book when I mentioned picking up an order for Parker. Ah yes, the rest of your party is already seated. Follow me. The rest of I began, but she was already weaving through the tables. That's when I saw her, a woman about my age with dark curly hair, sitting alone at a table for 2, nervously checking her watch. As we approached, she looked up, confusion crossing her face. Mr. Parker, the hostess said. Your table. The woman stood, extending her hand. You must be James. I'm Elena Vasquez. I think we've been set up. I felt the blood drain from my face as realization dawned. My triplets? My nephew Miguel. He's in your kid's science class. She smiled ruefully. I'm guessing you had no idea either. I should have been angry. I should have apologized and left. Instead, I found myself pulling out the chair across from her. I was told I needed to pick up a science project, I admitted. Elena laughed, a warm sound that seemed to loosen something tight in my chest. I was told Miguel forgot his textbook here after a study session. There is no textbook, is there? Just as there is no science project, I'm guessing. We stared at each other for a moment, then both burst out laughing. Well, I said, surprising myself, since we're both here, and I haven't had a proper meal out in, honestly, I can't remember how long. Would you like to have dinner? No pressure, no expectations. Just two victims of teenage manipulation sharing a meal. Elena hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. Elena was a high school counselor who had lost her husband David in a car accident 4 years earlier. She had no children of her own, a regret, she told me over pasta, but not one I dwell on. My 3 are enough for a dozen, I said. You're welcome to borrow them anytime. Especially after this stunt. She laughed again, and I found myself watching the way her eyes crinkled at the corners. Tell me about them, she said. So I did. I told her about Hallie's fierce intelligence and how she was already researching colleges with top political science programs. About Mason's quiet determination on the basketball court and his secret passion for baking that he thought I didn't know about. About Emma's poetry that she hid in notebooks under her bed, thinking I hadn't discovered them when I was putting away laundry. You're a good father, Elena said softly. They're lucky to have you. I'm just trying not to mess them up too badly, I admitted. Amelia was the organized one, the one who always knew what to do. I'm still figuring it out. Amelia was your wife? I nodded, feeling the familiar tightness in my throat. Breast cancer. 3 years ago. Elena reached across the table and briefly touched my hand. I'm sorry. It doesn't get easier, does it? Just, different. Different, I agreed. That's exactly it. We talked for hours. About grief and healing. About our jobs, my architectural firm, her work with teenagers. About books and movies and places we'd traveled. Not once did I check my watch or feel the awkwardness that had accompanied the few disastrous dates my well-meaning friends had set me up on over the years. When the restaurant began closing around us, I was startled to realize how much time had passed. I should get home to check on the delinquents, I said as we walked to the parking lot. And I should call Miguel and give him a piece of my mind, Elena replied, but she was smiling. We stood by her car, suddenly awkward. This was unexpected, I said finally. But not terrible, she asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. Not terrible at all, I assured her. In fact, I'd like to do it again sometime. If you would. Elena studied me for a moment, then pulled out her phone. Give me your number. And this time, we'll set it up ourselves. No teenage matchmakers required. When I got home, the triplets were waiting, trying and failing to look innocent. How was Bellini's, Dad? Hallie asked, barely containing her grin. Did you get what you needed for your project? Emma added, wide-eyed. Mason just watched me, arms crossed, a knowing smirk on his face. I hung up my jacket slowly, making them wait. You 3 are grounded for a month. Their faces fell in perfect unison. But, I continued, unable to keep my own smile hidden any longer, I'm taking Elena to the art museum next Saturday, so you'll have to postpone your punishment until after that. The living room erupted in cheers and high fives. I knew it would work. Hallie crowed. You like her, don't you? Emma asked, bouncing on her toes. She's nice, I admitted. Too nice for the likes of you 3 conspirators. Mason clapped me on the shoulder. You're welcome, Dad. I shook my head, trying to look stern and failing completely. Don't think this means you're off the hook. What you did was manipulative and inappropriate. But effective, Hallie pointed out. I couldn't argue with that. Elena and I took things slowly. We both carried our grief like familiar companions, neither of us interested in rushing into something new just to escape the pain of what we'd lost. Our second date at the art museum turned into a third at a jazz club, then a fourth hiking in the state park. Each time, I came home to 3 eager faces demanding details I was reluctant to share. Did you kiss her yet? Hallie asked after our 5th date. That, I told her firmly, is none of your business. But the truth was, I hadn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because something held me back, a lingering guilt that tasted like betrayal. The first real test came 2 months after our joke date, when Elena invited me to her house for dinner. I brought flowers and wine and tried to ignore the nervous flutter in my stomach that made me feel like a teenager again. Her home was warm and filled with books and art. Photos of her and David lined one wall, hiking in Peru, laughing on a beach, dressed up for what looked like a wedding. You don't have to hide them, I said when I caught her watching me look at the pictures. Some people find it uncomfortable, she admitted. My sister thinks it's morbid to keep so many photos up. I still have Amelia's clothes in our closet, I told her. The kids keep telling me to donate them, but I can't seem to let them go. Elena nodded, understanding in her eyes. David's parents wanted his childhood trophies after he died. I couldn't bear to part with them. They're in a box in my attic. Over dinner, she asked about the triplets. They must miss their mother terribly. Every day, I said. They handle it differently. Hallie gets angry. Mason gets quiet. Emma writes poetry that breaks my heart. And how do you handle it? I considered the question. I work. I take care of them. I try not to think about it too much. Does that work? Not really, I admitted. But it's the best I can do. After dinner, we sat on her couch with glasses of wine, talking about everything and nothing. When she leaned her head against my shoulder, it felt both foreign and familiar. James, she said softly, I need to tell you something. My heart stuttered. What is it? I like you. More than I expected to. And that terrifies me. I set down my wine glass and turned to face her. Why? Because I never thought I'd feel this way again after David. Because it feels like I'm betraying him somehow. Because I'm afraid of losing someone again. She took a shaky breath. Because I don't know if you're ready, or if I'm ready, or if we'll ever be ready. I took her hand, feeling its warmth against my palm. I have all those same fears. So what do we do? I don't know, I said honestly. But I think Amelia and David would want us to be happy. Even if it's scary. Even if we're not sure we're doing it right. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Do you really believe that? I'm trying to, I whispered. When I finally kissed her, it wasn't like fireworks or coming home or any of those clichés. It was gentle and tentative and a little sad. It tasted like wine and possibility and the salt of her tears, or maybe they were mine. Introducing Elena to the triplets formally was another hurdle. They had engineered our meeting, but having her in our home, in the space that had been Amelia's, was different. What if they hate me? Elena fretted as we pulled into my driveway. They're the ones who set us up, remember? Setting their dad up with a stranger for a joke date is different from accepting someone new in their lives, she pointed out. She wasn't wrong. Despite their matchmaking, I wasn't sure how they'd react to the reality of Elena in our home. I needn't have worried. They had prepared a 3-course dinner, Mason's contribution, set the table with our good dishes, Emma's touch, and even put together a playlist of non-embarrassing music, Hallie's domain. We're so glad you could come, Emma said shyly as she took Elena's coat. Dad talks about you all the time, Mason added, earning himself a glare from me. Not all the time, I protested. Enough that we're sick of hearing your name, Hallie said bluntly, then grinned. But in a good way. Elena laughed, visibly relaxing. Well, he talks about you 3 constantly. I feel like I already know you. Then you know we're delightful, Hallie said. And modest, I added dryly. Dinner was surprisingly comfortable. The kids had questions, of course, about Elena's job, her hobbies, her family, but they asked them with genuine interest rather than interrogation. After dessert, Emma disappeared upstairs and returned with a small, wrapped package. "We got you something," she said, placing it in Elena's hands. "To say thank you." "Thank you?" Elena looked confused. "For what?" "For making Dad smile again," Mason said simply. Elena unwrapped the gift carefully, a small silver frame containing a photo of the four of us from a recent day at the park. Mason had asked a stranger to take it, but I hadn't realized they'd had it printed. "We have an empty space on our mantel," Hallie explained, pointing to the collection of family photos where a gap was indeed visible. "We thought maybe it was time to add a new picture." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Emma told her. "Just don't hurt him, okay?" The directness of the request hung in the air between them. "I can't promise I'll never hurt him," Elena said finally, her honesty surprising me. "Relationships are complicated, and people make mistakes. But I can promise I'll try my best not to. And that I'll always respect what came before me, your mom, your family history. I'm not trying to replace anyone." The triplets exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them. "Fair enough," Hallie said at last. Later, after Elena had gone home and the kids were in bed, I found myself standing in front of the mantel, looking at the new photo next to all the ones with Amelia. It didn't look wrong there, as I'd feared it might. It looked like what it was, a new chapter, not a replacement for the old one. Our relationship wasn't without challenges. We had our first real fight 6 months in, when Elena suggested I might consider grief counseling. "I'm fine," I insisted, the same words I'd been telling my children for years. "You're not fine," she countered. "You're functional. There's a difference." "What do you want from me?" I demanded. "To cry on your shoulder? To tell you how much it hurts every morning when I wake up and remember she's gone? How I still reach for her in the middle of the night? How I can't look at Emma sometimes because she has Amelia's exact expressions?" "Yes." Elena shot back. "That's exactly what I want. I want you to stop pretending you're over it when you're not. I want you to stop acting like you've processed your grief when you've just packed it away in a box labeled, 'Do not open.'" "That's rich, coming from you," I said, anger making me cruel. "You've turned your husband into a saint. At least I can admit Amelia wasn't perfect." Elena recoiled as if I'd slapped her. "I never said David was perfect. You never say anything bad about him. Ever. It's always, David was so patient, or David loved this movie, or David would have thought this was funny. The man sounds like a candidate for canonization. That's not fair. Isn't it? We've been seeing each other for months, and I still don't know why you two never had kids. Was it his choice? Yours? Did you try and couldn't? It's a pretty basic thing to know about someone you're dating." Elena's face went pale. "You've never asked. Because you shut down any conversation that might paint him as less than perfect." "That's not true," she whispered, but there was doubt in her voice. We stood in my kitchen, the distance between us suddenly vast. "I think I should go," she said finally. I didn't stop her. For 3 days, we didn't speak. The triplets watched me with worried eyes but knew better than to ask what had happened. On the 4th day, I found myself driving to